Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. We are here starting a new series called When Two Psychics Talk. And we have Rhinny here, psychic number one. And today's topic, we're going to talk about awakening. We're going to start simple. And for those who are tuning in, who are starting to tap into their psychic powers, right? They're on the verge of their awakening. We're here to give you some clarity on what happened to us during our own awakening and how we start accessing all these supernatural powers, you can say, tuning into our psychic abilities. So let's introduce everyone to Rhinny. She's been on the show before, but now we're going to start a new series called When Two Psychics Talk. All right, Rhinny, introduce yourself.
So I am Rhinny, and Queen of Psychic. I am psychic and a medium. I channel all kinds of higher being, lower being, any beings, human beings, all of it. So my range of work mostly is energetic coaching. I talk to entities, I talk to all kinds of beings, connecting animals to flowers, to trees and rocks and crystals. I also have a business that I sell crystals and my personal collection. And whenever they want to release, they'll come out. So those are things that I do. So yeah, fulfilling on people's future when I can see what it is and guide them through all the things, all the obstacles to overcome and awaken in their spiritual journey and live the life they love. That's what I do. So
yeah, so me and Rhinny, we actually met during our coaching program. I think through that course, it just helped open us up as a clear channel. But so that's how we knew each other. And what we found out about each other too is we've had a lot of the basic trainings very similar, right? We got Landmark Forum, we got Tony Robbins. You've done Tony, right? So we've done a lot of these basic core trainings, and it's interesting how the universe brings us together. And I think we got more connected the more we talked with Moldavite. And I just love talking to Rhinny because she comes in from a space of no judgment. Like sharing something with her, like, oh, what about this? What about this? What about this? Right? When my mind gets in the way, we just have these tools how to come from a space of nothing, it doesn't mean anything, and just help coach each other through. And whenever we're talking, we're going into this flow. And I notice whenever we talk, even if it's on like WhatsApp, we record messages back and forth. Just re-listening to our messages, I'm tuning into like a ton of like a ton of information, right? A lot of clarity. And so let's talk about when we first got into our own awakening. And it's interesting because it was very around the same time we both awakened to this new reality. Rhinny was the one I shared about when I think when I first saw her whole shakedown when I was in California visiting one of our mutual friends. I think it was just one night you're just like all shaking down, like kind of like a seizure, like with all this energy coming through. And like I started doing this clearing work and I feel the energy coming through. But you're just like on this next level where you take on all this processing, all the energy of the collective. So so my question is like, how do you know when to shield that, right? Because it's not all the time you want to take on that heaviness. It's kind of draining in a way.
well, it's all comes down to attunement. You're aware, you notice what energy is your, what is not. I don't reject or resent any energy, I just accept. But my version of acceptance isn't like, oh, this is not mine, then I'm gonna kick you out. There's no hostility in there, there's no rejection in there. I'm more on just be attuned, have my sovereignty, know what my energy is, know what my core is, then I can differentiate what is mine, what is not, and where it's coming from. Because a lot of time with that amount of energy to come down into one single little body, it's a lot. But then it doesn't mean it's physically taxing. It's just, it takes me to determine, hey, what are you gonna do with this? So that's the training inside of having this ability. What do I do with it? So I have a choice. So I do not need any type of protection, and I do not need to, like shield myself or anything like that. Because anything that comes into my field, I know. Now, sometimes, yes, is it beyond what my physical body can handle? And that's hence why the shakedown happens. when that happens, I always have the tools. I learn to have the tools to ground myself, call on the higher being. Then I'm not fighting for myself. I'm not surviving the process. I am teaming up with higher beings. So we're working together, which is the best way to work.
Oh,
So
yeah. Okay.
all of it. Yeah. I'm not just using my energy. Yeah.
I think you taught me this when we were at our friend's house, and there's like this huge portal brick in the back, this wall, right? And it was like it was a portal coming in from Egypt or somewhere.
Mhm.
And I remember standing in front of it trying to close it myself, and it was like overwhelming. And then Rhinny was in the back like, why don't you call on your spirit guides to help you close it? Because it was heavy. But yeah.
Yeah, I remember you're like, oh, I can't do this. I'm like, why not? I'm like, you call on your guys. They're here to serve you. Then that's the thing. A lot of time when we're on the working journey, we think that we're doing it ourselves. We're alone. We have to go through all the things alone. We don't know there's other people who know these things until you start encountering your teacher. You know, so then you learn all these techniques and skills and open up your capacity. Because the reason why you encounter these things is for you to learn something. But a lot of time we forget that's what that is. We thought something is happening to us, like we can't handle it. So I always believe that the universe won't give you anything you can't handle. And if you don't know how to do it yet, it's just you don't know how to do it yet. Your teacher is going to show up. If you ever should you seek it, you will attract that teacher to come teach you that.
Okay, so that's bring us to the next topic, like spirit guides, right? I think this kind of scares a lot of people because they're not aware of spirit guides, or they think it's like an entity or spirits. So how would you distinguish between an entity energy and a spirit guide?
Well, the first thing when you look at anything has to do with spirit, are you standing in fear? If you're standing in fear, you can have God himself talking to you, and you'll be like, oh my God, I'm scared. Like there's something weird happening. So you always want to tune into like, what if there's no fear? What if this is just something we don't see? It's like the star in the sky in the dark, and they're hanging up there, and you're like, oh, you're afraid of it. You're not. You know, because you know that's the star. But what if entities or higher beings or spirit guides are just exactly like the star in the sky? It's in the dark. You can't see it all the time. But when you can see it, you get to tune in and sense into it and look at if fear is not present, what else is there? Can you really like not judge it? Go in there without that judgment. It's going to open up all these things that you may not know, or you just don't know what that is. But if we go in there with a judgment of like, I'm scared, I'm judging this is a bad thing, then all you're going to attract is all kinds of wonkies.
Well, here's the thing, like there are energies when even like yesterday when it was like Father's Day, and in the morning it was just this huge dense energy, and I start feeling body symptoms, right? Like headaches, right? But there are bad entities as well.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you deal with that? Right? It's not like there's a duality in everything. So I guess kind of walk them through like how would you deal with a dark entity, and then I'll share you how I work through a dark entity.
Well, if anyone's is coming through a process of they wake up, they just feel dense, heavy, they're uncomfortable, ground yourself. First thing is ground yourself, coming back to you, because you cannot allow anything in, or nothing can come in unless you allow it. Dark entities, their access is fear, low vibration. So you may sense something, but if you don't have it in you, you won't attract it. So they can come into your field, but if you know what it is, you're untouchable. You just stand in your light. You call on the light, you call on universal source energy, you call on Saint Germain and ground yourself. And knowing that I'm always safe, I'm always taken care of, I'm always provided for. Universal source is always with me. Wrap yourself in violet flame, wrap yourself, like call the source energy through your spine, like really aligned in your core being. Then you're this solid energy field. Solid not meaning like dense, but it's just sovereignty, like you. Mm-hmm. There's nothing that is not you can be in there. So then you can start asking questions. Yeah, I mean, and acknowledge if you're scared. You're scared. It's like, okay, I need some help. Call on the higher being and it's like, help me right now. I just need some help. Can you take care of it? Until I learn how to do this.
I think a lot of times I forget to call in for help, and I'm like, oh shit, and this, like, Houston, coming back to Houston, I'm having such a challenging time adjusting, just because it's so landlocked and it's so heavy here. Like, I don't want to be here. But I also got called back to here to help anchor in this light to help Houston raise the frequency. And I know you're in LA. Share how the energy is over there.
LA energy is a mix. There's like a great spiritual community here, and there are like crystal shops everywhere. Every city you go to, there's a crystal shop. It's not like it's not there. But then we're also talking about millions and millions of people and miles of land. There's a lot of mix in between. So I was one time, I was in this big tower in the city club in downtown LA, and I was wondering, maybe that was my creation and manifestation. I didn't even know this until like, it's kind of hit me right now, because I was like, wow, LA still has so many people needs that light. I live in San Diego, and I thought that was home, that was it. And then until I actually moved here, but it was probably two years ago that I said that. I say, wow, there's a lot of people need lights here. Hence why I moved here. And I felt a difference, and I surrendered to that calling, because even though, like, yeah, I like San Diego, I like the vibe and all that, but there's something that had me be here. So what I did is just surrender to it and allow myself to do the work that I do here. I started the new crystal business here. I've only been here for a few months. And then I recognize it wasn't until I moved here that my crystal wants to be released, because that's it gone through this filtering process where with my blessing, with my lights in there, channeling source energy, and I have that ability to spread that out to the world and healing people with it beyond just my coaching business. So that's an expansion's happening. I mean, I could resist and say, no, they're mine. And I have to let go of all of that. So, and with the energy here, that's part of it. Because now that I'm here, my geographically location is in a different space, and I'm attracting different people. So yeah, it's wherever you go, it's where you're meant to be. And you just handle everything as it comes. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, like coming here, I find out like there are times when I just need to escape to like a park somewhere where there's like a large, I'm getting pulled to different portals to go recharge, right? And especially for those who are watching, if you're in like a dense city, like I don't know why Seattle keeps popping up for me for like the density, because there's a lot of suicides that's happening in Seattle. But if you're living in one of those density areas, if you're getting pulled to go to like a big park or nature area, like go, right? I feel like spirit's calling you to go there to recharge and to help clear a lot of these, the energy of the collective.
Yeah,
Right?
nature is
energy.
right. So nature is a great tool for you to ground yourself, because it's all about coming back to who you are and what you're aligned and what you connect to. Like beach is a great place to connect. If you're not, like I'm in the big cities, I can go to the mountain or park, but I'm a water sign, so water's my thing. So going to the beach is a great place to ground myself. But if I were to not wanting to drive in the 405 traffic, I can just take a bath. So there's different things you can connect to. So where you're coming back to your core self, than to just handling it. Does that make sense? Because a lot of time when things happen, then we're trying to handle it. But when you're connecting to your core self, you know, your higher self, your true self, then you know what to do. So you're not, you're like, what are you talking about?
No, I know what you mean.
Okay.
There are times when I just need to get out. I just need to get out and breathe and get some fresh air. Mm-hmm. Okay, so you mentioned you went to Houston, or you went to Texas a few months ago, last year. So share about that.
Well, I went to Dallas, Houston. Yeah, those two cities I did. Actually, it was in 2019.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're in different months. You know, it's two separate time. And it is dense and it is heavy. And my training wasn't where I am now. And so it was quite a bit to handle. I literally walk into a hotel and I had to come back out and ground myself. And this is what I'm saying, like that personal practice of meditation, really getting to solidify your core being, knowing that you're safe and you're okay, nothing's going to happen to you. That's where it's important, because no matter where I go, even going to somewhere like that is an old historical hotel, boutique, really beautiful. Everything is renovated, is new, but the energy in there is so dense. Yeah, I was like weak. My legs are shaking. I was like, I need to sit down, number one. So let me breathe. And then I feel into my body. I work with my body. I say, hey, what can we do now? Go outside, get some fresh air. I was like, okay. And I go out there and take some deep breath and really wrap myself by the flame, call on the higher being, wrap the hotel. Now I'm going there. I'm not being like, a lot of people call this like psychic attack, but to me, it's not an attack. It's an encountering. It's an interaction. You encounter something, you have an interaction with it. It's just that it wasn't a physical thing. It's an energy. It's like you touch a light switch, there's energy in there. There's electricity. It's just an encountering. So then the chain of events is you either react to, oh my God, there's light. Or you just go like, oh, there's light. Right? So it's no surprise when you know that concept, you just go into a hotel, it's like, okay, it's dense. What do I need to do? I'm responding. So I go out there, ground myself, meditate real quick. And then it's like, okay, why am I there? It's a calling.
Mhm.
Otherwise, I wouldn't be there to transmute whatever that needs to get transmute and bring my light. Now, this is where it brings to, I got to trust my power, my ability, and my sovereignty, that I am the light and I am coming here serving this space, serving the energy, the entities, and everyone that's in that hotel. And I surrender to that. This is just what I do. And it takes you to be willing and open to do something like that. Then there's nothing that can get you. Yeah, so that was quite an encounter, because there's a lot of historical building in downtowns and stuff. That's pretty much every downtown I go to that happens.
Yeah, I think like for those who are first starting out their awakening, right? When you start opening up your body to receive energy, to sense it, to feel it, some of the symptoms you'll get is I think for me it's like goosebumps. I would feel goosebumps, and I would just feel like, if you tune into your body, feel heavy or does it feel light? And it's when we start distincting these, uncollapsing these energies, that's when we start tuning into like, is this good energy or is it, well, good and bad is the judgment, right? But you can sense if it's dense or if it's light. And I remember I think 2 weeks after taking my plant medicine, I came back to Galveston, which like in the 1900s, this entire city was wiped out by a massive flood. And it's even known for being haunted, this entire city. So that's when my first psychic attack happened. And I had no idea what was happening. It's interesting, right? Because yeah, it just lowered my frequency so fast that in a way, it just gave me this psychic attack. Something's coming after me. And here's for those who are watching, just to be really conscious about, if you allow yourself to get into that low vibrational state, like this lower energy, that's when they can really scare you. They can actually keep you at this lower vibration. And as we're talking here, we're talking like stepping into your personal power. If we are coming from a space of there's no fear, right? There's also a lot of mantras that I learned that the year, like everything's always working out for me. And using a fire flame, just different tools that we've taught and learned through our toolbox. It's like the more you learn and the more you develop these abilities, your psychic abilities, the more you don't have to be afraid of the different entities and know how to tune into your spirit guides, right? I think today is just kind of keep it basic for those who are like watching, because I mean, we are calling in the souls who are on the verge of awakening. So if you're tuning into this, there's something in your energy level that's pulling you here to hear us talk. Because I notice whenever us two talk together, we are clear channels to, like, if Rhinny's picking up something that I'm not picking up, she'll help me clear it. And if she's going through something that she can't see past, then I'll help her clear it, right? So we're all helping each other clear, to be clear channels and tuning into what the collective, or what our higher selves are calling for us to step forth. What else?
Well, I love that partnership, supporting each other. So always remember you're not alone. Whether it's human being or higher being or lower being, you're not alone. And nothing is ever done to you, everything is done for you. Mm-hmm. There's a lesson for you to be in there. Even if you're encountering lower vibrational things, it's not that we can't. This is where you get to train yourself. Like what Tammy was saying, right? Like, yeah, everything's working out for me. You get to train yourself, bring that to your conscious level. So you're not staying in that low vibrational state. They have no power over you when you're conscious and aware and notice what is going on. That's the key to manage any types of being that you encounter and say, oh, now I have something that low vibration, like, what do I do? Instead of fear, what can I do? Like, call on higher being, you have help. So that's like the basic tip that always, you can always call on whatever you believe in. It doesn't have to be religions. This doesn't have to be, any type of religion or any types of like mantra or anything. It's just anything that works for you. Just knowing that, hey, I have help. Who can help me? You'll be surprised who you get called or who you can help.
Spirit guides, right? So if you're watching this and you like think this is spirit guides don't exist, or if you're tuning into different energies, like, we're here to tell you, like, spirit guides do exist, and we can call on them for help in tuning into the light. And another tool we use, which is, we'll save this for another episode, is crystals. Crystals are such a huge tool, so crystal holds an energy that keeps our energy constant at this higher vibration. But we'll save that for another episode. Today, we just want to touch base on spirit guides and how they're here to help guide and lead us, and how do we call on them for help. And when you start working with so much energy, you start clearing these energies, they'll tell you their names, or if, like, we can distinguish between it's Kuan Yin, if it's Saint Germain or Jesus or Mary, right? All these guides are coming through, all the archangels are coming through. And when you're sitting in meditation, you clear your space, and if a name pops up, it could be your spirit guide.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I say, not having fear is so important, because the fear puts you in judgment space. When you're not in judgment space, then you're opening to receive. You're receiving who it is, then you're not afraid of who it is. Whoever it is that you're channeling in, because it's always speaking to you. There's some basic sensation that will show up, is like goosebumps or like heaviness and lightness that you said, right? But there's also all these little signals. If you have no reason to have a stomach ache, or you have no reason to have a shoulder ache or neck ache or headache or some sort of, because bodies are always receiving and it's telling you something, it's the easiest way for spirit to maneuver and like manipulate. So like, hey, there's a little poke, like, why am my eye all of a sudden twitching? And you're like, who's trying to communicate with me? Right? These body parts are not supposed to twitch, and you're like, why is it twitching? It's the little signs that we don't know, or we can, there's so many ways to receive, but for you, it takes you to be open to like, oh, something is speaking to me. Let's see what it is, be curious.
Yeah, I think this year is going to be actually very interesting, just to bring awareness, and like a lot of people are starting to, because, right, I think the collective, or like what we're being raised at, this is like crazy. You can't, these are taboo subjects. And it bothers me quite a bit, like how they shut it down, or they dismiss this as, hey, you're like, get back to reality. This is not real. But I think what's being called forth of us is to bring awareness that these things do exist. And I think,
yeah. And it'll take us to speak about it, like what we're doing here, because this is real life for me and you.
Yeah.
To most people that in my life, they start out with, what are you talking about? And then until I start speaking about it, they're like, oh, that happens to me too. I'm like, yeah. Then you start understanding like, whoa, this is not just me, and this is not just you. And in terms you start having, that's how we can discover even more of what we don't know. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, I always say magic is just science that we don't know yet.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to start talking about this so that it doesn't have to be taboo anymore, and that we can normalize these kind of things. And yeah,
Cool.
What else do you want to add? I think just keep this short today. Is to touch on spirit guides, that they do exist. They are real and they're here. If we're doing this and if you're tuning in, chances are you're vibrating, something is calling you in to come watch this video. And possibly your spirit guides are trying to communicate with you, right? So this is going to be our first episode on When Two Psychics Talk. Being a psychic just really means that you have opened up your body to this clear channel to bring in the energy and to bring in the messages from these higher realms. Everybody has psychic abilities. You just got to learn how to tune in and tap in and raise your vibration to be able to communicate with these energies. But yeah, anything else you want to add, Rhinny?
Anything else? No, well, you can always reach out to us if you have any questions.
Oh yeah, and so Rhinny has a YouTube channel as well. I'll put information. What do you have it available?
Yeah, well, my YouTube channel is Psychic Rhinny. I'm on TikTok, YouTube. On Instagram, a little different. Instagram is Angel of Love, but yeah.
I'll put all the information in the description. And Rhinny is activating crystals as well. And she also has Moldavite, right? Moldavite just puts us on this whole different frequency, but depending on so here's the thing, when we start opening our body to different energies, tuning in, whenever we work with the crystal, it's like we take on this energy, we adapt to that personality of that crystal, or depending on where it's been activated. But let's save that for the next episode on how to tune into crystals. So all of Rhinny's information is in the description. Go check her out. And she's going to start her channel too. We'll be going back and forth and see how this all goes. But this is what's being called forth for us to do. And if you are here, you watched the end of the video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Go check out Rhinny's page. And just know that you're being called here to hear this message.
Yeah, be open and receive.
Yeah, they're trying to reach out to you. But that's it. Thank you for joining us today. And stay tuned for the next episode on crystal energy with When Two Psychics Talk. All right, guys. Bye, Rhinny. Thank you for checking in today. I'll see you soon.